Hey everyone, I'm Eleanor. I've hit 67 this year, and just as I thought I'd start relaxing, life tossed me another curveball. But let me backtrack a bit to set the stage for this whole drama. I've spent a good part of my life with George, my husband of over 40 years. We've had our ups and downs, but we stuck together through everything. Then there's our son, Michael. He's been the light of our life. Ever since he was a little boy, scribbling on the walls with crayons, we knew he had something special. Despite knowing the starving artist cliché, we never stopped him from chasing his dream to paint. It wasn't easy, mind you. Money was tight, and the uncertainty of his next paycheck was always looming over us. When Michael turned 30 last year, he dropped the news he was getting hitched to Lucy, his girlfriend of just about a year. We were thrilled, honestly. Lucy seemed nice enough, quiet but polite, and she made our boy happy. That was good enough for us. We went all out for the wedding to give them a day to remember. The first hint of trouble came subtle as a sledgehammer. Lucy had her heart set on a ridiculously expensive wedding dress, something that screamed more demand than request. "Eleanor, I just found the perfect dress," she'd said, flashing her phone with a picture of a designer gown that cost more than what we spent on our first car. "Lucy, honey, that's a bit steep, isn't it?" I tried to keep my voice light, but my stomach was doing somersaults. "It's my special day, Eleanor. I want to look stunning. You understand, right?" Her tone wasn't mean, but there was a sharpness there that you couldn't ignore. So, I caved. "All right, we'll figure something out." And we did. It set us back a pretty penny, but the look on Michael's face when he saw her in that gown, I told myself it was worth it. After the wedding, we helped them get settled into a cozy apartment downtown. Rents aren't cheap, but we didn't want them starting their married life in some dingy hole in the wall. I remember that morning clearly. The sun was shining, but not too hot, a perfect spring day. George and I were in the middle of enjoying our second cup of coffee when Michael called. He sounded more excited than usual, and I knew immediately something big was up. "Mom, Lucy and I have some news," Michael blurted out before I even had a chance to say a proper hello. "What's the good word, son?" I asked, my heart starting to race a bit. George put down his newspaper, giving me a look that said he was thinking the same thing I was. "We're going to have a baby," Michael announced. You could hear the smile in his voice. It was one of those moments that just fills a room with joy, even through a phone line. "Oh, Michael. That's wonderful news," I exclaimed. George was grinning from ear to ear, nodding in agreement as if Michael could see him. "Thanks, Mom. We wanted you to know first. We're telling Lucy's parents tonight." I turned to George, mouthing, "We're going to be grandparents." And he just chuckled, shaking his head in happy disbelief. That afternoon, I decided to visit Michael and Lucy to congratulate them in person and maybe talk about how we could help out. When I got there, Lucy was sitting on the couch, looking a bit pale but happy. "Congratulations, dear," I said, giving her a gentle hug. "You okay? You look a bit tired." "Thanks, Eleanor. Yeah, just a bit of morning sickness, nothing major," Lucy replied, managing a small smile. "That's normal, honey. Anything you need, just let me know," I offered, feeling that rush of excitement about being a grandma. "Actually, since you mentioned it," Lucy started, hesitating a bit. "I was wondering if you could help out around here sometimes? With the baby coming, things are going to get a bit hectic." "Of course, dear. You know I'm here for whatever you need. Cleaning, cooking, you name it," I said, eager to be involved. Lucy's response was a bit more direct than I anticipated. "Great, because I can hardly keep up as it is." And with the baby, her voice trailed off, leaving the sentence hanging with an unspoken expectation. I reassured her. "Say no more, I'll come by a few times a week and help out." "How does that sound?" "That sounds necessary," Lucy replied, not exactly overflowing with gratitude but clearly relieved. On my way home, I couldn't shake a twinge of concern. Lucy's words, "That sounds necessary," echoed in my head. It wasn't the warm thank you I'd expected. But I brushed it off, telling myself I was just being overly sensitive. After all, she was pregnant and probably overwhelmed. True to my word, I started helping out at Michael and Lucy's place the very next week. I'd sweep in with my bag of cleaning supplies and a casserole or two in hand, ready to lighten their load. Michael was always so grateful. He'd give me a big hug and say, "Mom, you're a lifesaver." Lucy, on the other hand, wasn't so easy to please. After a few visits, she started picking at the details. "Eleanor, you missed a spot there on the counter, or this casserole is a bit bland, isn't it?" Her words stung a bit more each time. It was clear she was taking my efforts for granted, and her occasional thanks felt more obligatory than genuine. I kept my frustrations to myself, mostly. After all, I was there for my son and my future grandchild, not for praise. But it was hard not to feel a bit used when even your best efforts are met with criticism instead of appreciation. It was a Tuesday, a day like any other, when I headed over to Michael and Lucy's apartment to do some chores and drop off some homemade chicken soup. I thought it might help Lucy with the nausea she'd been having. I'd just finished up cleaning the kitchen and was setting the soup on the stove to warm when Lucy came shuffling in, looking worse for wear. "Oh, Lucy, you don't look so hot today. Why don't you sit down and I'll get you some of this soup? It'll make you feel better," I said, trying to be as cheerful as possible. Lucy grimaced, holding her stomach, and muttered, "I hope it's better than last time, Eleanor. That soup didn't sit well with me at all." I was taken aback, but kept my tone light. "I'm sorry to hear that, dear. I made sure to use all fresh ingredients this time, just in case." Lucy slumped into a chair, eyeing the pot as if it might bite. "Well, we'll see. Last time I was sick all night. Michael had to stay up with me." Now, I knew for a fact there was nothing wrong with the soup I made last time. But I bit my tongue, not wanting to start a fuss. "Let me get you a small bowl, and you can see how you feel," I offered, ladling out some soup. She took a tentative sip and then another. "It's okay, I guess," she conceded, though her tone was less than grateful. We sat in silence for a few minutes, the only sound being the gentle ticking of the clock on the wall. Suddenly, Lucy clutched her stomach and let out a groan. "Oh no, not again," she gasped, her face twisting in discomfort. I jumped up, my heart racing. "What's wrong? Do you need me to call Michael? Or a doctor?" "No. It's your damn soup. It's making me sick again," she shouted, pushing the bowl away so forcefully it nearly toppled off the table. I felt a flash of anger, but swallowed it down. "Lucy, I assure you, the soup is fine. Maybe it's something else? You've been having morning sickness." "No, Eleanor. It's your cooking. You're trying to poison me or something." Lucy was on her feet now, her voice rising with every word. I stood there, stunned. "Poison you? Lucy, why would I ever do such a thing? I'm here to help." Lucy's eyes were wild, her breathing heavy. "I don't know, but I can't trust you. You and your old-fashioned ways, always meddling. I need you to leave. Now." I grabbed my purse and headed for the door, my mind reeling. As I walked down the hallway, tears stung my eyes. How had it come to this? I'd only ever wanted to help. The day of the baby shower arrived, and I was a bundle of nerves. Despite everything, I was determined to make this a special day for Lucy and the baby. I had spent weeks planning and picking out what I thought were perfect gifts, soft blankets, cute baby outfits, and even a handmade quilt I'd spent nights sewing. "George, do you think she'll like what I picked out?" I asked while packing the car with the gifts. I couldn't help but worry after everything that had happened. George, always trying to keep the peace, gave me a reassuring pat on the shoulder. "Ellie, anyone would be lucky to get your gifts. They're from the heart. Don't fret." We arrived early to help set up. The venue was a pretty little hall decked out with balloons and banners proclaiming, "It's a boy." Michael greeted us at the door, his face lighting up when he saw the pile of gifts we brought in. Lucy was already there, fluttering around and directing decorations with a few of her friends. She seemed in good spirits, which eased some of my tension. "Hi Lucy, need a hand with anything?" I offered, hoping to break the ice a little. She glanced over, a quick once-over that didn't quite hide her impatience. "No, thanks, Eleanor. We've got it all under control. Just enjoy the party," she said, a bit dismissively. Finally, the time came. Lucy sat down, a mountain of gifts around her, and the room quieted down. She started with ours, probably out of courtesy, since we were the grandparents. She unwrapped the first package, pulling out the handmade quilt. I held my breath, watching her face for any sign of approval. "Oh, this is quaint. Thanks, Eleanor," she said, the word quaint hanging awkwardly in the air. The room was silent for a moment, then filled with polite applause. My heart sank a bit, but I kept my smile. "You're welcome, dear. I made it myself, thought the baby might like it." The next gift from us was opened, a set of baby clothes. Lucy's reaction was more of the same. "Cute," she said flatly, barely glancing at them before setting them aside. By the time she got to the last one, the blankets, my hopes weren't high. "Oh, more homemade stuff. Right, thanks." Her words stung, and I felt my cheeks burn. Then, as if the disappointment wasn't enough, Lucy held up the blanket, making sure everyone could see, and announced loudly, "Eleanor clearly has no taste at all. Next time, just give me the money to buy something nice." The room fell silent, and I felt every eye on me. The embarrassment burned hotter than a summer's day. I stood there, rooted to the spot, not sure how to respond. George was at my side in an instant, his arm around my shoulders. "Let's not let this spoil the day," he whispered, though I could hear the anger in his voice. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. "Right, let's just get through this." As the party continued, I felt like a ghost, barely there. Michael came over later, looking embarrassed. "Mom, I'm really sorry about that. Lucy's, well, she's got her own way of doing things." I forced a smile, though it felt more like a grimace. "It's okay, Michael. Let's just focus on the baby." Even with all the tension, I kept going back to Michael and Lucy's apartment to help out. I couldn't just sit back knowing they might need me, even if every visit was harder than the last. It was one of those mornings when I brought back a heap of laundry, freshly washed and dried, ready to be put away. I was folding and sorting everything into the right drawers, trying to make things a bit easier for them. As I was tucking away the last of Lucy's blouses into her drawer, I didn't hear her come in. The door slammed, making me jump, and there she was, staring at me like I'd just robbed a bank. "What the hell, Eleanor? You think you can just dig through my things like it's nothing?" Her voice was sharp, and her eyes were blazing. I put the blouse down slowly, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks. "Lucy, I was just putting away the laundry. I thought I was helping." "Helping? By snooping around my personal stuff? That's not helping, that's crossing the line." She was shouting now, and I could hear the anger boiling over. I tried to keep calm, though it was getting harder. "I wasn't snooping, Lucy. I swear. I do this all the time. I just thought." "Well, you thought wrong. Stay out of my things, got it?" She cut me off, her words slicing through the little piece we had left. I backed off after that. But seeing how she started to eat at me. She'd stopped working, spent her days on the couch watching TV shows or shopping online for all sorts of things. One day, curious and a bit concerned, I asked, "Lucy, how are you affording all these new things?" She didn't even pause her scrolling. "Michael's doing really well, selling lots of his paintings online." "We're fine, Eleanor." "That's good to hear, but maybe think about saving some of that. For the baby's education or something?" Lucy laughed, a harsh sound that filled the room. His education? Please, that's your family's issue. Michael's making good money because he's talented, not because of anything else. You guys owe me, big time, especially since I'm carrying your heir. Walking out of there that day, I felt heavier than I had in a long time. The drive home was a blur of green lights and honking cars, but I couldn't shake Lucy's words. When I got home, George could tell something was wrong. "What happened, Ellie?" he asked, concerned. I shook my head, weary to the bone. "It's Lucy. She thinks we owe her for having the baby. Like it's some kind of business transaction." George's face hardened, and he took my hand. "That's nonsense, Ellie. You know that, right? We don't owe her anything." I nodded, trying to muster a smile. "I know, but it doesn't feel great hearing that from your daughter-in-law. After the baby was born, I thought maybe things would start to look up, that maybe Lucy would settle into motherhood once she held her son. But it just didn't turn out that way. Lucy seemed more irritable than ever and didn't bother hiding it from anyone, not even me. One morning, not long after the baby came home, Lucy showed up at my doorstep, unannounced, with the baby in his carrier. "Eleanor, I need to catch up on some sleep. Can you watch him today? Maybe your place is quieter," she said, her voice edged with exhaustion. I was worried but agreed. "Of course, Lucy. Go get some rest. We'll be fine here." I thought maybe it was just new mother fatigue, but it became a pattern. Lucy would drop off her son at the slightest excuse, saying she needed to meet friends or just to have some me time. And when she was with him, it was as if she couldn't bear the responsibility. More than once, I arrived at their apartment to find the baby crying in the next room while Lucy lay on the couch, absorbed in some show, completely tuning him out. One day, the reality of the situation hit me harder than ever. I walked in as usual and heard the baby crying. I hurried to his room and what I saw stopped me dead. Lucy, standing over the crib, her face contorted in anger, slapped the baby. He wailed louder, and my heart broke. I rushed in and scooped him up, glaring at Lucy. "What are you doing? You can't treat a baby like that." Lucy sneered at me. "Oh, please. It was just a light tap. He needs to learn to stop crying over nothing." That night, I talked to George and Michael, my voice thick with worry. "We need to do something. This isn't normal behavior. Lucy might be struggling with something serious." Michael looked defeated, the lines deepening around his eyes. "I know, Mom. I thought it was just stress, but this is too much." We decided together that Lucy needed professional help. We even found a psychologist and made an appointment, but Lucy refused to go. She claimed she was perfectly healthy and accused me of trying to turn Michael and the family against her. "It's nothing personal, Lucy," I tried to explain one last time over the phone. "We're worried about you, and we just want what's best for you and the baby." Her voice was cold, clipped. "I told you, I'm fine. This is just you, Eleanor, always finding fault where there is none. You can't stand that I don't need your constant meddling." I was at a loss, feeling more alone in this fight than ever. I hung up the phone, my heart heavy. How do you help someone who doesn't want to be helped? How do you protect a child from his own mother's indifference? I needed to have a serious talk with Lucy. I knew it wasn't going to be an easy talk. After everything that had happened, things had reached a boiling point. I took a deep breath, prepared my phone to record the conversation, not to spy, but just in case I needed to remember what was said, or if things took a turn for the worse. "Lucy, we need to have a serious talk," I started, my voice steady. "It's about your responsibility as a mother and how you're handling things." Lucy rolled her eyes, clearly not in the mood. "Here we go again. What now, Eleanor? You going to lecture me on how to be a mom?" "It's not just about being a mom. It's about what's right for the baby. You can't keep threatening to cut us off from him every time something doesn't go your way," I said, trying to keep the frustration from my voice. That's when she snapped. "Oh, so it's like that, huh? You think you can just come here and tell me how to live my life? How about I just don't let you see him at all? How would you like that? Her words were sharp, and she pulled out her phone, dialing Michael. With tears in her voice, she began. Michael, you need to hear this. Your mother just hit me and she tried to take your son away from me. My heart stopped. Lucy, that's not true. Why are you saying that? She ignored me, continuing her tearful tale to Michael. You need to do something, or me and the baby are leaving. You need to choose, Michael. It's me and your son or them. I was in shock, barely processing what was happening as I heard Michael's confused voice trying to calm things down, suggesting they talk later. Lucy hung up, a smug look on her face. See? You'll never see them again if you don't do what I say. Give me $100,000, or it's over. I was stunned into silence. This wasn't just a threat, it was outright blackmail. Before I could gather my thoughts, the baby started crying from the other room. Instead of tending to him, Lucy shouted at him to shut up and refused to change his diaper. That was it. The last straw. I couldn't take it anymore. This is wrong, Lucy. You can't do this. It's not right, I said, my voice quivering with anger and despair. Oh, just shut up and leave if you don't want to help, she snapped back. I left the apartment, my heart breaking with every step. What had just happened? How had things gotten so out of control? That evening, the phone rang. It was Michael, his voice heavy with sadness. Mom, I'm so sorry, but Lucy's made up her mind. She says it's best if you don't come around anymore. I don't know what else to do. In the background, I could hear Lucy's angry shouts, declaring they were cutting all ties with us. It felt like a nightmare. I hung up the phone, numb. If that's what they wanted, then maybe it was best to let them see the reality of their decisions on their own. I told myself that I had done everything I could. From that day, I stopped all financial support. No more paying for their apartment, no more money for groceries or baby care. It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make, but I needed them to face the consequences of their actions without us to fall back on. 2 months of silence had passed before Michael and Lucy unexpectedly showed up at my doorstep. The look on their faces was grim, and Lucy didn't waste any time. As soon as I opened the door, she demanded, "You need to start paying the apartment rent again. Michael's paintings aren't selling, and we're in trouble." Once we were all seated, with George beside me for support, I addressed them both firmly. "We're not going to continue paying for your apartment. You both decided to cut ties, remember?" Lucy looked shocked, perhaps not expecting this stance. Michael's eyes were downcast, he seemed embarrassed. "And there's more," I continued, feeling a mix of anger and relief at finally speaking my mind. "I've been managing the online sales of Michael's paintings. I'm stopping that as well. It's time for you both to take full responsibility." Lucy's face hardened. "You can't do this to us. We have nothing without your help." "That was your choice when you decided to push us away," I replied. "Also, I'm going to seek legal advice about the custody of my grandson. Your behavior has been completely out of line, Lucy." That's when I turned on the recording on my phone that captured one of our last conversations, where Lucy had demanded $100,000 from me. I played it aloud. George and Michael listened, horror growing on Michael's face as the reality of Lucy's actions sank in. After the recording ended, Michael finally looked up, his decision clear. "Lucy, this is over. I want a divorce. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to live under the same roof with someone who treats my family like this." She stormed out, cursing as she went, standing in the rain in the parking lot, yelling back at us. It was a heartbreaking scene, but there was also a sense of justice in seeing her true colors revealed so clearly. In the following weeks, Michael followed through with the divorce and took steps to ensure his son's safety. Lucy was eventually deprived of her parental rights due to her unstable behavior, and she moved to another city. Once the dust had settled, I invited Michael and my grandson to move back in with us. Our home became a place of healing and new beginnings. Michael soon organized an exhibition at a private art gallery. To everyone's delight, it was a tremendous success. His art, reflecting deep emotions and a journey through personal turmoil, resonated with many. Now, our home is filled with laughter and the joyous noise of my grandson playing. I spend every possible moment with my grandson, teaching him, loving him, ensuring he feels the security that was momentarily threatened.